Welcome to all Caribbean entrepreneurs. If you've been ready and waiting to take your business digital and get paid online while you sip something strong on the beach, this podcast is for you. We'll hear from the Caribbean's finest entrepreneurs on topics like e-commerce, business development, brand building, social media, their wins and failures. This is the only place in the region helping you navigate the digital age from the Caribbean's perspective. This is Digipreneur FM. And now, let's give it up for the Digiboss himself, Mr. Keron Rose.
Thank you to everybody tuning in to another episode of the Digipreneur FM podcast. And as usual, it is your boy, Mr. Rose. DJ, you know what to do. DJ, you gotta fade us all the way out so that we can talk to the people. How are you, lovely ladies and gentlemen, doing in the Digipreneur family? If you are hearing Jimmy the Rooster in the background, say wagwan, Jimmy. I won't know if he is getting picked up in the mic until post, but boy, oh boy, he's active right now. He done knows we're starting the podcast. We're in the intro, and he's making his presence known. He's going off right now, and he's just outside the window. Say wagwan to Jimmy if you can hear him. Anywho, it is Monday, lovely Monday, June 17th, 2024, and this is episode number 164. 164. Lovely. We are back to our regular scheduled program, and we getting out our 2 episodes a week until something crazy comes up to throw us off our schedule again. But nonetheless, we are here. Man, I tell you, it's been 2 weeks since I came back from Colombia, and I think since I've come back, I can't shake the feeling that it's time to move on. And maybe not permanently, but I think there's a lot that's happened over the past 2 weeks where I feel like, you know what? I've been having this itch to spend some significant time outside of Trinidad and Tobago. And these last 2 weeks, have really just kind of just solidified it. Like I just couldn't shake it. And when it's not, societal things happening with a whole lot of crime that's going on. And the funny thing is that crime never used to bother me, but I feel like now it's officially just on the doorstep. So that's a bit worrisome. But then aside from that, to me, like the crime is one thing, but I think aside from that, there's just so much to see in the world. And I feel like, when I moved here at the end of 2013, mentally, oh my goodness, I just came out of nowhere. Sorry about that. When I moved here at the end of 2013, I spent a month in Jamaica, and my life started January 2014. So mentally, I'm always like, January 2014 is like my starting point of in Trinidad, just for my own, my own mental timeline. And being here for 10 years, when I left Toronto, I started to feel like, there was more out there. I needed some time away to just go and kind of find myself and, see what else is out there. Because I felt like at that point, Toronto wasn't it. And it's always good to get out of your hometown to gain perspective, personal development. And I feel like, I've done that when it comes to me moving to Trinidad. I feel like, I've done so much. I've done more in the past couple of years than I ever would have thought, ever. And, just a completely different person, new perspective. Um, and that's just greatly helped me and helped how I do things here in Trinidad, right? Because I always have my Toronto mindset and Toronto perspective, and it helps balance me being in Trinidad. And this is partly why I feel like, over the past couple of weeks, where I feel like, I'm getting this feeling that, I need to get another perspective. There's more development to do. And it's because when I create my content and I'm educating and I'm looking at all of these, strategies and tools to help us grow our businesses and build online and, start acclimating ourselves to technology, it's because I come from a place where it's very progressive. It wasn't always like that. That came over time. But there really hasn't been in Trinidad and the wider Caribbean, there really has not been that driving force to get people to start leveraging the technology, to start thinking about technology, processes, people, to start figuring out how can we take, all of these tools and integrate it into our daily lives or our businesses to create better experiences, to create better processes for ourselves. I thought COVID would have been that, but COVID really wasn't that for the Caribbean because, as we all know across the entire region, the first opportunity that people were able to go back to how things were, that's really just what happened. And we never really adopted a technology-driven mindset first, right? And there's a number of reasons why that is, right? I don't think it's going to change anytime soon because you have a part of the country that, based on their religion, doesn't believe in technology, right? And that's a large part of our population, especially here in Trinidad, where they just don't use technology based on their religion. Then we have the people who don't trust the institutions. That's another big part that's another big piece of the pie. They just don't trust the institutions here, so they don't want anything to do with anything related to the institutions or putting their money into systems or leveraging anything that makes them feel unsafe because they don't trust the institutions, right? Then you have the non-tech savvy people, and again, because there's no places in Trinidad teaching you technology like how it was back in Canada, where there's to this day there's places that you can go to learn basic things like smartphone photography, how to build games. When the banks are introducing their Visa debit cards and their online banking, the banks themselves held their own workshops teaching the public. Like, they held their own workshops and not just putting out a social media post, right? A lot of these things have helped allow us to be more tech savvy and to adopt technology abroad, right? But we just never had those things happen here, right? So, for me and how I do my content, I'm always challenging the public and business owners to be technology driven, to try things out, to create better processes, a better customer experience. But what a lot of people don't know behind the scenes is, what people don't see that there's the amount of pushback I get. The amount of pushback I get is crazy because at the end of the day, technology forces people to become accountable because, you can't fudge things when technology is involved as easily as when it was just pen and paper. Technology and new processes forces people to upskill and do things differently than they're not accustomed to. So the crazy thing is the amount of times that I will put something out there, something as simple as why businesses should stop doing cash on delivery. Instead, use these tools to do digital payments. And if you still need to accept cash because we're still a cash heavy society, these are services that allow you to allow you to accept cash ahead of you sending out the products. Set these things up so that people can visit these hundreds of outlets across the country, give them the cash, and then again, you have now been paid cash ahead of time. That way you don't have to send your products out. Even something like that was met with a lot of criticism. And it's crazy because the criticism is, we're not ready for that. This is not Canada. This is not foreign. And you know what I mean? While people can say, this isn't Canada, that is foreign stuff, we're not ready. What they fail to realize is, yeah, cool, but we have to get ready. If nobody is pushing us to get ready, how do you expect us to ever be ready? Is it people? Well, honestly, what people really believe, and this is crazy to me. What people believe is that the government is going to flick a switch and everybody's just going to be ready. But because the government hasn't flicked that switch, we're not ready. So me saying things like digital payments, utilizing these services to accept cash ahead of time, don't do, cash on delivery, because cash on delivery ties up your inventory. People are standing up, a lot of these business owners. Courier companies talk heavily about how they have to chase down people because people make orders online, and then when it comes time for courier drivers to go out and deliver the products, there's a large percentage of them that duck them because they never had intentions of paying, or maybe they, priorities changed and the money, they spent the money that they were going to get, that they were going to use for the products. All of these things, all right? And so it's a waste of time. It's a cost to the business because the business still has to pay the delivery driver. They still did their job, all right? Now they're out of money. And then their product was tied up. Their inventory was tied up in just trying to get it out to the people, right? So whilst cash on delivery is very helpful, I've never said it wasn't helpful. But the fact of the matter is that there's a lot of problems right now with cash on delivery. And so when I provide alternate solutions, hey, don't do cash on delivery, do this instead. That way you have now secured your money, and people are going to be more inclined to make themselves available and to do less crazy garbage like order products from your business and start ducking the delivery drivers or stand you up when you go to meet them to deliver the goods. These things are met with, oh, those are foreign strategies. This is not foreign. This is not Canada. Take that back to Canada. Crazy. And like I say, who is going to be there to get you ready? Are you literally waiting for the government to flick a switch and everybody in the country is just going to automatically be ready? That's what people are really waiting for. So anyways, it's been feeling to me like, you know what? I myself need to get outside and go and seek new perspectives and just see more things. Being in Colombia, just being in the environment and seeing how businesses are operating, their technology platforms are operating, how you're buying, you're using your phone to tap and pay, or using your smartwatch to tap and pay for street food. All of these little things, you see these things and you're like, yo, how do we get our people to start moving in that direction, right? And so that being said, over the past 2 weeks, I've really been looking at digital nomad visas across the entire world. And that's really where this show is going. This show is going to be, episode 163 is about the digital nomad visas and, looking into that. So I'm doing my own research. And whilst I'm doing the research, again, I'm sharing it with you because I know there's many of you out there who need a change. You need a change because you're not seeing the opportunity. You're in an environment in the Caribbean where you're not feeling like it's growing with you, and you feel like it's probably you, right? And maybe you are not succeeding the way that you want to succeed because you have never lived outside of your home country, right? At the end of the day, I made a move at the age of 28 to leave my hometown of Toronto. I was born in Trinidad, yes, but I left Trinidad when I was like 3 months old. Toronto's all I know. Well, at least it was, right? Until you get out of your hometown and live somewhere, you don't get the perspective that you think that you're getting when you just go and visit a country for a couple of days. If you're somebody already living a digital nomad lifestyle and you're always on the go, mentally you're at a place where you're always on the go. You're always trying to soak up as much as you can and taking bits and pieces of different cultures with you, right? So you're gaining perspectives. But most people are not living a digital nomad lifestyle and bouncing around all the time. They're just going vacation here, go hit the resort, might do a couple of activities away from the resort, but they're not really picking up new perspectives, right? And so when I was doing the research on the digital nomad visas, because more countries are opening up their tourism sector, adding the digital nomad visas because it works for them. You can bring that person, they can work remotely for a company internationally outside of the home country. They don't have to worry about taxes. You can still pay your taxes back in your home country. But guess what? They're physically going to be here, and they're going to be spending their money here. So it's worked out. So more countries across the world have been adding digital nomad visas. And I want to talk to you guys about that because I really believe that people need to hear it. And, maybe this is what you need. Maybe this is that universal signal to you that, you know what, maybe I really do need to get out of the Caribbean for a while, get some new perspective, learn some new cultures, see how things are working in my field in a different place. And then when you're ready to come back, you have more motivation. You've learned more. You're going to be better skilled. You're going to have, you're going to add to your mindset. And maybe that's the type of golden nugget you might need to finally crack the code to make it work right here in Trinidad or in the other Caribbean countries that you are from. So let's get into it. So again, across the Caribbean right now, many of us are looking for meaningful opportunities, but it really does feel like we are constrained by our geographical and also economic limitations. And digital nomad visas are offering a whole new pathway to opportunities that we've never had before. These visas are more than just travel documents. They are really going to help us build in our personal and professional development, allowing us to broaden our horizons. Again, I can't stress the fact that me coming from Canada has helped me tremendously find my success in the Caribbean, right? For many in our region, the challenge isn't just about finding work. It's about gaining the kind of global perspective that reshapes how we solve our problems and innovate at home. So embracing the digital nomad lifestyle allows us to live and work in diverse cultures, learn from different economic systems, and bring back valuable insights that could very well be transformative for both individuals and our entire community at large. And I will always say, I feel like the reason why the Caribbean is so stagnant is because we lack perspective. We've never had to really be productive. We have, when I say be productive, we are productive to a point, right? But we've never had to really operate like how the rest of the world is operating. When people come to the Caribbean, it's a slow down pace, laid back lifestyle. And for the most part, people truly live that lifestyle here. We've never really had to do more than we are required to do today. But it's a whole new world today, right? So as we start to embrace things like remote work, Caribbean professionals have an opportunity to venture beyond their local environments. The digital nomad visas themselves simplify what was once a major barrier, gaining residency to secure employment abroad. So these visas allow you to earn a living while experiencing life in countries that once seemed beyond reach, using your skills you may already have or can develop as a freelancer or a remote worker for a company. And this shift is not just about, economic survival anymore, but about thriving through expansive development and contributing back to our home countries with a renewed vision and enhanced opportunities. So as we stand on this, this shift globally of workplace evolution, there has never been a better time for the Caribbean community to explore, learn, and grow through the digital nomad pathway. All right? And I truly believe that. Even when you leave the Caribbean, remember, you still got to pay your taxes back in your home country. So you're still contributing, but then you're also going to be learning new skills, meeting new people, and developing yourself and developing your craft. And if you decide to come back, you're coming back a whole different person and better. Now, you might be more frustrated because you might feel like, man, I came from Japan, and Japan is living in the future. Now I come back to this place and I feel like I'm back in the Stone Age. Yeah, that's probably going to happen. But at least you yourself are going to be better suited to solve problems. Okay? You're going to be better suited to solve problems. And you can go from there. Right? I'll say that. You could go from there. It might be frustrating. Yes, I know that. But you also might realize that, hey, you really want to be in the Caribbean, and now you have new perspective, new skills to solve some of our problems, right? So first things first, what is a digital nomad? Simply put, a digital nomad is an individual who uses telecommunications technologies to earn a living and more generally conducts their life in a nomadic manner. They are a new breed of professionals who are redefining what it means to work. So you're no longer chained to your desk, and most importantly, you're not location dependent. Technology is allowing you to earn a living from anywhere in the world, okay? And digital nomads can leverage a variety of in-demand skills from graphic design, social media mastery, software development, virtual assistants, web development, search engine optimization, you name it, right? All you need is a reliable internet connection, your laptop, and your smartphone. And now you're going to be able to work from anywhere you choose from. Forget work from home. Forget about work from home. It's all about work from anywhere, okay? So let's talk about countries that have created a digital nomad visa. And then I'm also going to talk to you about, what you can do outside of the specific digital nomad visa, right? So companies that currently have a digital nomad visa, I made a pretty solid list, and I'm going to link to my written article because my written article, I'll link to it in the show notes. My written article has all of the countries, and I've linked to the information about the visas specifically for that country, right? And I'm going to keep on updating this list as I'm doing my research and figuring out more places that have a digital nomad visa program. I'll be adding to that list, okay? All right, so countries that have a digital nomad visa program. In the Americas, you have Colombia, Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, and El Salvador, right? Again, I say there's probably more out there, but as I find out new places, I will be adding them to the list. So Americas, Colombia, Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, and El Salvador. If you're thinking about doing maybe some time in Europe, you got Estonia, Portugal, Croatia, Iceland, Greece, Spain, Germany, Malta, Italy, Latvia, Romania. Then in the Caribbean, you have Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, the Bahamas, Bermuda, Curacao, Dominica, and I think St. Vincent has one too. Let me just double check. So St. Vincent has a digital nomad visa as well. So I'm going to add St. Vincent as well. I had remember seeing when they had announced it, and I clearly when I was making the list, I lost. It didn't come to mind at the point in time when I make the list. So I'm going to add St. Vincent to that list as well. Then in Asia, you have Thailand, Indonesia, Bali in particular is a hot spot. You got Dubai, you got Japan, you got Malaysia. In Africa, you got Mauritius, you got Cape Verde. And then you have Australia, right? So I put together a solid, good list. And like I said, as I learn about more countries with the digital nomad program, I will add them to the list. And each of these visas, they have their own specific requirements, such as minimum income levels, health insurance obligations, different application processes. And again, they can all vary widely from one country to the other. So click on the links, right? I'll put the link to my digital nomad visa breakdown inside the show notes. Click on the links for the country that you are interested in and go through the various application processes and see what is needed to obtain that digital nomad visa. Now, even without a digital nomad visa, you could still be a digital nomad, right? And this is how people are doing it without having a digital nomad visa. So before these digital nomad visas became a thing, remember, this is relatively new. Some countries have just rolled it out this year or last year, but they only really became a thing, like the actual digital nomad specified visas. They only really became a thing coming out of the pandemic. But even to this day, this is how a lot of people are doing it without having to get going down the road of getting the nomad visas. Many remote workers adopted a strategy to maintain their lifestyle across multiple countries, and these practices are still primarily used today. It is still used mainly because some of the digital nomad visas are so new and may require more investment or qualifications than these traditional strategies. So this approach often relied on the flexible use of tourist visas, which allowed them to live in a country for a limited period of time without engaging in local employment. This method, while it is common, also involves careful planning and awareness of the immigration rules to avoid any legal pitfalls. So here's how it worked. A tourist would come in on a digital a tourist would come in, or a digital nomad would come in on a tourist visa, and that visa, depending on the country, would allow you a stay of anywhere between 30 to 90 days, all depending on the country's regulations. And then if the country's laws permits, you could then apply for the extension of your nomad visa. So let's just say you were coming into a country that gave you 60 days off the jump. You could apply for another 30 typically, and there you go. You're automatically there in the country for 3 months, right? Then what they would do is when the 90 days was coming up to an end, they would do something what is called a visa run. So the tourists would then, depending on where you are, obviously, the tourists would then drive across the border to a neighboring country, right? This is the easiest one. They would drive across the border to a neighboring country. They would spend a day out there shopping, sightseeing, whatever. And then when they re-enter the country, they would get a fresh new 60 days, and then they would extend for another 30, and the process would continue. Now, some countries have gotten hip to it, right? So what they're doing is, like in the case of Thailand, right? And again, I'm doing my research as well, so I'm learning about all of these things. So in the case of Thailand, what they would do is they allow you 2 land visa runs per calendar year, right? So you would just jump in a car, jump over to Laos or Myanmar or Cambodia, drive across the border, go sightsee for the day, then come back, and then it resets your clock and you get a fresh 60 days or a fresh 90 days. I forget Thailand. Thailand is either 60 or 90 days, right? Either one. But you get a fresh new time clock when you drive across the border and you come back. So you get 2 land trips to go do that. Outside, when you've maxed out your 2 land trips, then you have to come in by air. So you have to fly across the border to wherever you want to go and then come back, right? And that's how people are primarily doing it without a designated digital nomad visa. So you just figure out how much time the country is giving you, and then drive across the border and you reset your clock and you're good to go. Now, in places like Europe and Asia, it's easy to do that because they're neighboring tons of countries, and traveling via car, via train, via plane is cheap over there. Like, I'm looking at flights from, so again, I'm doing my homework, right? When I'm looking at what I'm going to do if I were to go to Thailand, I'm like, all right, if I go to Thailand, I'm also looking at Singapore. I'm also looking at Bali. So let's just say if I base myself in Thailand, I'm like, yo, how much is the flight from Thailand to Bali? Yo, it's like 800 TT dollars. 800 TT dollars for a return trip from Thailand to Bali. And it's like a 4.5 hour flight, right? That is $117 US for a return trip. 4.5 hour flight, return trip, right? Then if I were to look at Singapore, from Thailand to Singapore has flights as low as 650 TT dollars, and 650 TTD is 95 US dollars for a return trip, right? So in many of these places in the world, it's extremely affordable to live and also to fly. So I'm here thinking to myself, yo, I could base in Thailand or base in Bali, and it's cheap to be there from every aspect. And I'm going to get into that just now. It's cheap to be there, but then if I have to go do a land run or a flight run, it's cheap to do that, right? But I'm thinking, and again, I'm doing my own homework, and you got to do your homework too, right? I'm thinking to myself, okay, I probably wouldn't do, like a day. Maybe I fly out for like a week. Or maybe I say to myself, yo, I'm going to do 3 months in a country at a time. Again, I'm right now, I've started to contact a couple of visa places in Thailand, and I got to start researching visa firms, like, immigration lawyers and stuff like that. I got to start doing that research for like Bali and Singapore as well, so I fully understand, what route I'm gonna take. But I started doing that for Thailand, and I'm waiting for people to get back to me so I can fully understand the scope. But I mean, yeah, if I could do 3 months in one place, spend a week out. Maybe I do three months here, 3 months there, and I kind of bounce around between 2 or 3 countries every 3 months. Now, I don't know where I want to settle yet, right? I don't know where I want to settle. And again, this is a part of, me feeling like I need to get some new perspective. Because right now I feel like Trinidad by far is not it. We have way too many problems, and there's no solutions on the horizon because we just don't have the right people in the right places. And things have just gotten to the point where it's never been this bad in the history of the country. It's never been this bad, all right? And it's not getting any better. So I feel like I don't know where I want to settle. I don't know. When I left Toronto, I've always wanted to live in Trinidad, like since I was a kid, because Trinidad is the place that always felt like home. So I've always wanted to live in Trinidad, right? And then when I was, when I was of age, when I was 28 and I was, able to come here and it made sense to come here, I came. But now I'm feeling like this ain't it. And I need to get out and get some new perspective and see the world and whatever. So I don't know where I'm going to settle, right? Because I'm saying that to say, people might be hearing, yeah, but I don't want to do 3 months here, 3 months there. Like, that's too much on the move. I don't want. I hear you, and again, that's you got to make that decision. I myself, I know within myself, I don't know what I want to do. I just know that I need to get out, and I need to get some perspective. I feel like right now I can't even breathe here, and I need to just get outside, breathe, see the world, and, maybe I come back in a year, because I know that when I leave, I'm gone for a minimum of a year. So maybe I come back in a year and again, new perspective, new ways to attack the problems that I've been addressing. Who knows? No, I don't know, right? So a 3 months here, or 3 months here, 3 months there, right now sounds like it sounds for me. It sounds like that's just something I could do. I've never done that before, but I'm also leaning on, right now my first order of business is how can I stay in one place for a year? Like how can I base myself for 1 year in one place? But like, if I want to go do a week in Bali or a week in Singapore, a week in Japan, like I can do that. But I'm based in Thailand, right? So that's the route that I'm trying to figure out right now. How do I base myself, sign a lease for a year, and I know that that is home. That's home base for the next year. Versus, all right, my 3 months is coming up. Let me go and do 3 months somewhere else, right? That's option number 2 if option number 1 does not work out. Option 1 being, I want to find out how can I base myself in Thailand for 1 year, all right? And then just travel from there because it's cheap to travel, right? So that's where my mind is at right now. But option 2 is if I can't, or if there's no legal way for me to stay there for 1 year, base myself in 1 year, at least I know that I can still pick up my stuff and I can still move. But now every 3 months, I just do 3 months here, 3 months there, 3 months there type of vibe, all right? At least I know I have that option. So that is typically what a lot of digital nomads are doing right now without having a digital nomad visa. All right. Visa runs on the border, whether it be by land or sea, and they just come back into the country. Okay. So pros and cons of doing that route is 1, flexibility. It allows for short-term stays in multiple countries, and it's ideal for exploring different cultures and environments without any long-term commitment. Again, many of us don't have a goddamn clue where we would want to settle. So at least this is allowing you to travel without having to commit to any place. You can go spend 3 months in Japan, go spend some time in China, go do some time in Italy, go do some time in wherever. This gives you the flexibility to go do that, all right? And it's simple. It's easier and it's quicker to do that because depending on the country you're coming from, look, Thailand just included us as of June 1st. Thailand just added Trinidad and Tobago as part of their expansion of countries that don't need a visa. So they had a list of like 40 countries that did not need a visa to enter, and they've expanded that to 93 countries, Trinidad being one of them, right? So this route of, going to countries and for 3 months at a time that don't need a visa, again, easy, simpler, less headache, right? You just buy a plane ticket and show up. Again, lower requirements. So generally does not require proving any professional status or income compared to having a digital nomad visa or any of the other visas, right? Which obviously are going to have stricter criteria because those are geared towards longer stays. The cons of it, you have the legal risk. So repeatedly leaving the country and re-entering a country to renew a tourist visa, known as that visa run, could lead to scrutiny by immigration authorities and potential denial of entry. That's why you have to know ahead of time what is the rules and regulations regarding visa runs. So just like how I told you, Thailand allows you to do 2 land visa runs, but they do not have any limitations on the visa runs via air. You got to know those things. Another one that I learned in my research is Japan. Japan is giving you a 6-month digital nomad visa, right? And it's relatively easy to obtain, but the digital nomad visa gives you 6 months in Japan, and once the 6 months visa is done, you cannot come back to Japan for 6 months. You have to leave. You don't got to go home, but you got to get the out of here, right? You cannot come back to Japan for 6 months. So all of these things, you have to learn about the destinations that you would like to go to, right? Con number 2 would be a lack of stability. I mean, like I was just talking about, right? Living on tourist visas, they offers no long-term security, making it difficult to make long-term commitments to anything, from leases, any real long-term plans. But again, I think it's good in the short run. If you don't know where you would want to settle, again, if you really feel like, man, we're in the Caribbean right now and, you're good, like you want to go and live somewhere for some time in another country, doing it like this, at least you will get to experience different places. And again, it's very different from vacationing somewhere. If you can spend 3 months in a place, you'll get a damn good idea of what life is like living there, right? You'll get a good idea of what life is like living there. And if this is a place that you can see yourself living long term or medium term, all right? And then you have, depending on, again, we're addressing digital nomads, but you also have to keep in mind, what if you're not a digital nomad? If you're a digital nomad, you already know you could work from anywhere, right? Your business is sorted out. You have the skills to freelance. You have the skills to work from your laptop, or you're working for a company that is allowing you to work anywhere you want, right? As long as you're showing up for your meetings or, getting whatever you have to do done, you're good. But what if you're somebody that does not have any digital skills? Or you're not working for a company that allows you to be a remote worker and you have to figure out how to gain employment in that country. Well, this episode wouldn't be for you to begin with, because you would be trying to apply for residency and apply for work permits in that country you want to settle in, right? So, again, I was going to list, limited work rights as a con, but the reality is this episode's for digital nomads, so you guys already know what you guys are about. And you know that you could work from anywhere. Anybody else who's not a digital nomad, if you're thinking about resettling in a country, it's going to be the regular process. Finding out how to gain residency in that country, but then also finding out, how you're going to get a work permit and work for one of the local companies, right? The last con I will say about this short-term strategy of bouncing around 3 months is that, the travel costs. It can add up. Like, depending on what you're doing, your travel expenses can add up. But again, context, because when your entire lifestyle is friggin' peanuts compared to where we are, and it's peanuts, your frequent travel, your frequent visa runs, it's just another expense. But, again, you're saving so much money in all the other areas. You just have to put aside your money for your visa runs, right? Let's talk about why Asia has become the global hotspot right now for digital nomads. Because boy, oh boy, right now I've been looking between South America and Asia, and I would have said this from last year. South America prices are really, really good, and Colombia, especially Medellin, has won my heart, and up to now I could see myself living significant time in Colombia, right? But boy, let's talk about why Asia has become the hotspot for nomads. Asia has become this prime destination for digital nomads for several reasons. One, cost of living. Many countries in Asia, such as Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, Cambodia, Laos, offer significantly lower costs of living compared to Western countries. The affordability goes towards housing, food, transportation, leisure activities, allowing nomads to maintain a comfortable lifestyle while managing their expenses effectively. Listen, I've been doing the homework. As long as you're making 1,500 USD, so 1,500 USD is about 10,000 TT dollars. 1,500 USD, that is, people can live and cover all of their expenses off of 1,500 USD. That's like my marker. You can actually live cheaper than 1,500 US, but 1,500 US, 10,000 TT, that is, to me, you can live comfortably in most Asian countries with that, from what I'm researching, right? You have vibrant expat communities, so cities like Bali, Chiang Mai in Thailand, Ho Chi Minh have thriving expat communities. These are hubs filled with like-minded individuals who are also remote workers, creating a supportive environment that is conducive to networking and collaboration. Then you have the cultural richness. Asia is renowned for its diverse cultures, its historic landmarks, unique experiences, its nature, the greenery, the beaches, the food, all of that good stuff. Then on top of that, it's the infrastructure, the technological infrastructure. So major cities in Asia boast the most robust internet connectivity and modern amenities. Places like Singapore and Hong Kong are known for world-class infrastructure, making it ideal for those whose work depends on reliable digital communication. You got the scenery, the beauty, whether it's the beaches of the Philippines, the mountains of Nepal, or the urban landscapes of Tokyo. Asia offers a wide range of environments to cater to different preferences and lifestyles, making it not only physically and visually stimulating for digital nomads. Friendly visa policies. Some countries offer specific visas or arrangements that are very favorable to digital nomads. And then we also have the climate. For those who prefer warm climate, many parts of Asia provide tropical year-round climate, which is a major, major draw. So again, if you're in the Caribbean and you hate snow, you don't gotta go to snow. You can go to another place that has similar climates to what we experience here in the Caribbean, at way better costs. Way better costs. So in that breakdown that I have linked, I also have a table of what to expect in terms of monthly housing costs. So I compared Thailand, Bali, and Colombia, all right? Now, that looked at things like on average how much you spend in groceries, rent in a one-bedroom house in a downtown city, utilities, internet, transport, dining out, fitness club, cinema, and childcare if you have a child, right? Now, I won't go through all of the prices. I will save that for you to read, but I will tell you what the average cost is with rent. So when you tally up everything, Thailand came up to like $1,469 US. Bali, this is all of your costs with a one-bedroom rent in a downtown facility included, came up to about $1,900, and Colombia came up to about $1,447, right? So like I said, $1,500 US is a really good, that's a really good threshold to, if you're making that you're going to be good. Now again, the budgets, when you do your own homework, the budgets are going to vary very wildly because depending on where you are living, depending on the cities you are living, you can get your costs down tremendously. So whilst I am looking at condos in Thailand and in Bali for around $500 US because it's like condo life and it's all inclusive in terms of it's fully furnished, you get all your amenities, co-working spaces, I'm seeing pools, I'm seeing saunas, I'm seeing beach courts, tennis courts. I'm seeing all these things included in the $500 US. You could also get an apartment. I'm seeing apartments in Thailand, in Bangkok, for $40 US for the month. So you can ditch the friggin' condo. You can go and get an apartment for as low as $40 a month. So the fact that you're able to do that is absolutely insane, right? Now, I would prefer to get something fully furnished. That's just another ease off of my mind. But the fact that I know if I really, really want to crunch and cut down my expenses, I can go and rent an apartment and just, it might be semi-furnished, it might be furnished. And if it's not furnished, they have IKEAs all over Asia. So you can just go and get your own furniture and do your thing. Like the fact, $40 US, I've never even heard of such a thing. The cheapest rent I've ever even seen back in Toronto was like 500 Canadian dollars. And that was like studio rooms, studio apartments, or like you renting a room. Right? That's wow. $40 US for an entire one-bedroom apartment is wild. And again, pretty decent apartments at 40 US, right? So again, this is why I'm saying, like, I've really been giving this some thought, man. What I also did was I also included images. Of one of the apartments I was looking at. If you see it, man, absolutely stunning, right? And that entire apartment, condo. That condo came up to $436 US for the month, or 2,900 TT. right? So go take a look. I even included the link to go check it out. So if you think the pictures are fake, I even included the link to the property website for you to go and check it out on your own. But it's a 1-bedroom condo with sauna, pool. If you see the pool, rooftop pool. They have a friggin' botanical gardens. They got a gym. They got a ball court, co-working space. If you see it, place is beautiful. 436 US. All right, go and check it out. So, I said a lot, didn't I? I really believe it's a good time for people across the Caribbean right now, because I know many of you are feeling the same way. You are feeling constrained in the Caribbean. Many of you want to build up the Caribbean because you want to live in the Caribbean for the rest of your life. Again, nothing wrong with that, I'm not telling you that you have to go and stay outside forever, right? But many of you are feeling constrained. Many of you are feeling like you guys are drowning in the toxic environments that are happening across the Caribbean region right now. We have some insane leaders across the region, and the environments are so restrictive and just not conducive to growth because the people in charge are not interested in growth. And when it's not leaders, it's just regular people, right? And you might feel like it's just you, and you're struggling right now. Now is a good time for many of you, and I'm encouraging many of you to go, and even if it's for a year, I'm encouraging many of you to look into becoming a digital nomad. If you feel like you're working a 9 to 5 and you have no digital skills, you don't got to do this tomorrow. Start looking at building a digital skill set. Go and jump on Google, type in high income digital skills, type in digital nomad skills, see what the different types of jobs that other people are doing remotely, and go learn the skills. For everything that I do, I had to learn it. I had to learn how to do SEO, web development, content creation. I had to learn how to do all these things. Even podcasting. I had to learn these skills to do that, right? And we have too many people that are just like, yeah, that's you. I don't have the time. If you don't have the time, if you don't have the money, that's on you. All right? You have to make the time. And a lot of the things that we can learn today don't require money, but they require your time. You cannot say you don't have time, you don't have the money, because then you're just stuck. And until the pain of saying the same outweighs change, if I got that correctly, until the pain of staying the same is too much, that it's forcing you to change, you're just going to be stuck in the situation that you are right now. And that's what we don't want, right? If you feel like where you are at in your life is it's hurting you and you're really feeling stuck, chances are you need a new perspective. You need a new environment. You need new surroundings. You need to get out. And it's not until you get out and you experience a different culture, meet new people, network, see a different way of life, and that new situation breathe new life back into you. It's not until you do that might be the missing key for you. When you do that, that might be the missing key that you come back and you're like, yo, I'm good now. I know how to solve the problem that I'm having. And for many of you that have kids, you have, like I know in Thailand, they have like 10 different education systems in Thailand. You could enroll your kids into a Canadian program, a US program, an Australian program. Like I'm talking about curriculums, right? They have over 10 different international schools, education systems, not just schools, but education systems that you could enroll your kids in, right? So, and it might be even good for your kids too, because you know what? Again, perspective. Even your kids need perspective. Your kids need to see different parts of the world to facilitate their growth. I've been talking to my daughter, and I'm just like, yo, I gotta get you. Like, we gotta travel because Toronto's not enough. It's not enough. And you might think that you have to do particular things in order to succeed, but it's just based on what you have learned and know of Toronto. But there's more than one way to skin a cat out here. And I've been telling my brother this too. My brother is wrapping up his CPAs in accounting, and he's turning 28 this year in December. And we're born a date apart. He's the 9th, I'm the December 10th, right? And I've been telling him, like, yo, bro, you gotta get out too, man. You have to get out, because my mom have been talking, the way the cost of living is in Toronto. My mom said something to me yesterday, and she's like, yo, you're turning 40, right? She's telling me this. She's like, you're turning 40. She's like, by 40, I had 2 houses. And not to say that, like, what are you doing with your life? But she's like, things have changed so much. She's like, it's amazing to me, because by the time she turned 40, she had already bought her second house. She's like, me and my younger brother sit down. She's like, my mom and my brother sit down. She's like, there's no possible way for him to own a house by 30, let alone 2 houses by 40, right? She acknowledges that, things are extremely, extremely different and difficult. She's like, I don't know what he will do. She's like, but that's why I also don't force him, he doesn't have to leave anytime soon. And I just keep telling my brother, bro, just get out, man. Just start looking at how you can be an accountant remotely. Like, you need to start learning the digital skills and start looking at how can you be an accountant, but digitally. Because, bro, if you got to get out there too, like, you got to go see the world, you might not ever be able to afford a home back in Toronto. Heck, even if you're staying in Canada, you might need to go move to a different province. I had the opportunity as well, and I was like, man, I can't do another province. A lot of my friends moved out to, like, Alberta, the western parts, and it's like even colder, more snow. Like, I don't like Canada like that. Like, Toronto was the only place I would ever live in Toronto. That's the only place I would ever live in Canada, Toronto. And the other place might have been Vancouver, but Vancouver was also 10 times the cost of Toronto. So it's a no-go, right? And, now that I came to Trinidad, and Trinidad has been great for 10 years, it's time for me to do something else. And so now myself, I got to go and figure out what my next move is and what that looks like. And when I get there, I'm going to learn and I'm going to figure things out. But the way things are set up over there, cost of living, the fact that I can just do more with less and not stress and be in a progressive environment, learn new cultures, learn a new language, just do something different. Again, that's appealing right now. And I know I'm at a place in my life where I need that, So I'm encouraging my brother to do the same. Bro, if you want to come with me to Thailand, we do Thailand together, you know what I mean? But, you just got to get out. And that's my call to my other Caribbean people. You got to get out, go and figure out how you can spend a year outside of the Caribbean, because you need it. You're going to gain that perspective. You're going to figure out, you're going to pour back into yourself. So when you do decide to come back, you're coming back rejuvenated. You're coming back with a new perspective, a new angle to tackle some of the problems. And then you can see how the rest of the world is tackling problems within your space. And then you can go do it too. All right. Whew, I said a lot. So anyways, that's it for me in this episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to leave a rating. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it, drop a rating for me. The ratings help continue to grow the podcast. And if you really enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review. The reviews, people always read the reviews before picking up a new podcast. So take the time, drop a review on Spotify, drop a review on Apple Podcasts. Those help tremendously, okay? Don't forget you can follow me over on keronrose.com. Link to that in the show notes to learn more about building your digital presence and monetizing your platforms. And you can also check out the digipreneur.fm website to keep up to date on everything happening within the podcast as well. Follow me over on social media at KERONROSC across YouTube, across Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, all the social media platforms of your choice. I'm definitely most active on LinkedIn and Instagram. All right. I really do hope that this episode was insightful for you. I really, really hope that. And I hope that I just want you to know that you're not alone. There's many of us, and we're just not having the discussions out loud and publicly. There are too many of us feeling the constraints of being in smaller economies that are less progressive in the way that we think and the way that we operate. Many of us are feeling stuck. We're feeling trapped. We're feeling like it's just us. We're feeling crazy. We're losing our minds. We're losing our wits being here. And that's okay. We're in a developing part of the world, right? And whilst you do not need to abandon your home country, I believe wholly and solely that you need to get some life poured back into you. And the only way you're going to be able to do that, a vacation is not enough. A vacation is a breather. But if you listen to this podcast, chances are you're building something. And you need more than just a 3-day vacation. You need a year away. A year living, working, learning in a complete different part of the world, a complete different culture, a different country. And so you physically being in Asia, in Africa, and in South America, being out there for a year, seeing how things are done, gaining that new perspective will go a long way so that when you come back, you can tackle this problem from a whole different angle. All right? The digital nomad visas are here for you. They are a pathway to just getting out there in the world. And even if you don't do the digital nomad visa, remember, that's why I told you about the 3 months bounce around. You could do that for a year. You could 3 months here, 3 months here. You can do that. You could knock out 4 countries, 3 months at a time. And when you're in Asia and when you're in South America, when you're in Africa, it's easy, it's cheap and easy to do that within those continents, right? So I encourage you to do that. All right? That's it from me. It's Monday. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. I will see you guys at the end of this week as we come up with another episode, all right? That's it from me, and take care.
You've been listening to the Digiboss, Keron Rose. We hope your notepad was filled after this episode. Make sure to like, rate, and review the show. The learning doesn't stop, folks. And to make sure you don't miss any gems from the Digiboss, go over and follow him on all social media platforms at Keron Rose. Folks, don't just sit there with a notepad. We need you to implement at least one thing into your business before the next episode. That's the only way your business levels up. Thanks for listening to Digipreneur FM. Now go be great.